dears, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Pamela and I put out beauty related videos once a week. So today's video, you've already read the title, you know what I'm going to talk about here today is the brand new Laura Lee Los Angeles birthday brush set. Is that what it's called? Is that the whole name? Hold on. Yes, birthday brush set. So I purchased mine obviously directly from the Laura Lee website. I purchased it the day that it launched, which I believe was like September 2nd or 3rd or something like that. It took about a week and a half or so for it to get here. I know it was Labor Day right after this launch, so that's probably why it was a little bit slow in process, even though it was in the same state, because I do live in California and Laura Lee also ships from California. I obviously already took everything out of the package. I do have a clip I'm going to insert. I loved the way that everything was shipped to me. It was packaged really, really well, nice and cushiony. I should probably mention now that I bought that bundle where you got both the brushes and the Nudie Patootie 2 palette. It was a $62 set. However, since I was a first-time customer, I did sign up for their email, like, you know, notifications and stuff like that. I did end up getting, I believe it was either 10 or 20% off. Can't remember off the top of my head. And so I did get an additional 20%. I cannot remember how much the total was with shipping because I was just a little under the shipping cutoff. But I know that if you spend $50 or more, you do get free shipping. Nonetheless, I felt like it was a really good deal. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 brushes and an eyeshadow palette for $62 plus the bag too. And I'm gonna say that the bag, let's start with that actually. The bag is actually of pretty good quality and it's bigger than it looks. Like it doesn't seem like it could fit a lot, but I actually tested this out and put all of my like travel makeup, or what like I would wear if I were to travel, which if I ever do get to travel again, it would be nice to take this bag. But all the brushes, the eyeshadow palette, and you know, all my face makeup and things like that did fit into this bag, so I was quite impressed. It's built really, really nicely and pretty spacious for something that looks so dang small, I'm not gonna lie. Before I get into the brushes, the palette, this is what the palette looks like. I figured since I'd never tried anything from Laura Lee before, as far as like her makeup or brushes, it was a pretty good deal. And this palette, I've never heard too many people talk about it. It's actually really, really pretty. Now, I do have shades like this, and my husband even pointed it out. He was like, "These look like shades you already have." Sometimes a part of me wants to say like, no, they're all just a little bit different, but he's right. There are shades that I most likely already have in my collection. However, I really do love these colors, and as you can see, my eye look came out super beautiful and something that I would wear on a regular. Besides the fact that they are, you know, pretty common looking shades, the formula is really good. Everything blended out like a dream. I do have drier eyelids and I was surprised as to how smooth and creamy the formula was for her eyeshadows, and so I'll get more into that when I'm doing the eye look. But I'm not upset that this was part of this like deal, and I actually really, really enjoyed using this palette today, and I will definitely enjoy using this in the future. Now, enough about the bag and the eyeshadow palette. Let's talk about the brushes. Now, mine are all used because I literally just did obviously my whole makeup using these. This is my first impressions, so I don't want to call this a review. However, I could say that I've used plenty of brushes, and I have a whole bunch of brushes ranging from, you know, pretty expensive brushes to pretty cheap. I have $1 brushes from Shop Miss A that I wholeheartedly love and recommend to anyone and everyone who wants to find a good makeup tool for cheap or for a good price. And I'm not saying cheap in a bad way. I mean cheap as in the dollar cheap, not like the quality of the brush cheap, if that makes any sense. But I was really excited when she announced that she was launching more brushes because I did miss out on her previous collection. And I like the brushes that she has chosen for both brush sets. Now, I know the other brush set is no longer available to purchase, and so that's why I figured I'd try this one. I also want to mention that I picked this up because I loved that I didn't quite have these brushes in my collection, with the exception of like, you know, the brow brush with the spoolie. I feel like we have a million of those. And although we do have a million of those, I'm not gonna lie, lately I've been using a lot of my spoolies in my eyebrow brushes because I'm using a different product for my brows. But I'll get into that later as well. I love the way the brushes are. I love that they have this really pretty, almost like peachy nude, you know, handle. The ferrule is a really pretty gold. And then the bristles on the brushes, I hope I can capture this on camera. I'll see if I can, I'll see if I can insert a close-up. They are almost multicolored. Like there's, you know, like a white hair, and there's also like purple and blue, and it's like really pretty. It's very different than anything I own in my collection, and that's kind of like what I was going for. They are, I believe, synthetic. I'll double check and I'll leave a comment. I'm 100% sure they are synthetic, but they are incredibly soft. Like the softest brushes I think I own. I have my, you know, daily brushes on hand here because I wanted to do a couple of comparisons, and as far as like the touch goes, they are the softest brushes I think I own right now. This is one from AOA Studio. It's a $1 brush, and this is one of my favorite like all over powder brushes. And although this is a pretty soft brush considering it's only $1, these definitely, you know, these definitely are the softest brushes that I own in my collection. The price for the brushes themselves, I believe, was $47 just for the brushes and the case, which I think is a fair price considering Sigma brushes or, you know, MAC studio brushes, Smith brushes, anything high end or like as far as a good brush can be pretty expensive. Like $47 for a brush set and the case or like a bag or whatever is pretty good in my book. Like I'm not mad about this purchase, and I think it's fair. I think that's it for the intro. So now we're just going to go ahead and get into the demo, and I'm sort of going to talk about each individual brush and how I felt when I was using it. So yeah, let's just get right into that. Yes. It did come with like a little card here, so I am going to read the information off the card, and I'm going to let you know whether or not this did what the card says, and I'll show you a demo or me using the brush and applying my products while I'm talking about it. So this is the L24 brush. It is a wide angle kabuki brush, and it's perfect for all cream products. I figured I'd use this brush for my foundation because it's probably something that I was originally going to use with my foundation, and I quite liked the way that this applied my foundation. Now I will say it's probably not something I'm going to continue to use. I prefer something a little bit more of like a flat, bigger brush, or even something more like angled like this, but it definitely needs to be a fuller brush. So although this spread my foundation beautifully and it didn't leave any streaks or any like little lines from like when you use a brush to spread your foundation, it applied it beautifully. I used that Fenty Pro Filter Hydrating Foundation again today, and I felt like it gave me a beautiful seamless application. Now I also used this brush to apply my concealer, and it was a little bit like out of my, what is that called, comfort zone. I prefer using a sponge, and I will definitely continue to use a sponge after this. You know, I just wanted to try the brush out, see how it would perform, you know, with my foundation and concealer. And although it applied both products, or blended out both products, I should say, beautifully, and it makes, I mean, my skin looks gorgeous today using just these tools to apply my products, I will say that it's just not something I'm used to. I definitely prefer my sponge to apply my concealer 100%. Now I think that in the future, this is gonna be really, really nice for my cream contour products. So I'll eventually play around with this brush and use other products. I think like cream contour or even like blush or like a liquid highlight. This is like the most perfect sized brush for that. And I think out of everything that I'm going to talk about today, no, that's not true. I think I have like 3 or 4 favorite brushes that I just like absolutely loved, and I would consider purchasing maybe 1 or 2 more of them. This one in particular, I know that I would want 1 more of these brushes because it just applied you know, my face makeup really, really nicely. And like I said, for cream contouring, I think that this is going to be ideal, as well as blush and maybe even highlight. I then went in with the L23 brush. This is a tapered face brush and it's a rounded head, great for applying powders and bronzers precisely. Now I went out of the description of this brush and I actually used it to cream contour today. I used my Soul Body cream bronzer to apply my bronzer, and I really liked the way that this applied a cream product. I thought it blended everything out smoothly and beautiful. Now I will say that the previous brush, the L24, would have probably done a better job as far as cream contouring, but this actually diffused the product beautifully into the skin. And I feel like it looks seamless and so well blended. Like, it's quite an impressive little tapered brush. Also used this brush to apply my cream blush, and it applied it beautifully as well. It's kind of a multi-purpose brush, and this is again another one that I think was one of my favorites when I was applying my makeup, and would consider purchasing maybe one more because I loved the way that it had applied both cream products and powder products. I even used this to apply a little bit of powder blush on top because I felt like I had lost my blush after powders and things like that, and it just looked beautiful. Like, it dispersed the product great. It fits right into the apples of my cheeks because I am one of those people that still applies lots of blush to the apples of my cheeks. I cannot get on board with that trend where it's back here. I need blush on my, you know, apples of my cheeks. After that, I powdered, and I powdered with this gorgeous, like, giant L21 powder brush. And I mean, I don't think I even need to read the description. This is a large powder brush. That's it. It's supposed to set your whole face, and although this is a beautiful, beautiful brush, like, I don't really quite think that this one was as necessary as like the other two. Like the other two, like I said, would definitely purchase one more of those, but I like my other powder brushes. I really enjoy like my AOA Studio one, and although they both look totally different, they both deliver the same, you know, finish, or they both do the same thing. So it's not like this was incredible or revolutionary for me. You know, like I said, it's a great, great brush, but it wasn't a wow factor in the collection. Then I moved on to the L25. This is described as a large tapered highlighter brush. Now, this is probably my least favorite brush right now. I prefer a highlighting brush that's a little bit on the smaller side. You could see that this is a little bit shorter. This is another AOA Studio. It's the F19 highlighting brush. I like this more. It applies my highlight in such a beautiful, seamless, almost already blended way. And I'm not saying that this didn't quite do that. I just feel like this is like longer, and for me, I just prefer shorter bristles for my highlighting brushes. And although it applied the highlight in a really, really nice way, I felt like this brush wasn't picking up enough product for me. Like, I like to dip my brush into my highlighter, and I used a Becca highlighter today, and we all know that those are pigmented, very nice curated highlighters, and you don't need a lot to get a blinding look, but I felt like I struggled with this brush. So for highlighter, I don't think I'll use it for highlighter in the future. I may actually consider using it to set my under eye makeup because I felt like I didn't have a smaller brush to set my under eye makeup with, and I do like using a smaller brush to do that. This big powder brush was a little bit hard to get under the eye, so I think for the future this could turn into an under eye setting powder brush for me because I like the shape. I feel like it's nice and soft and a little bit on the flimsier side, that it could set very lightly. I like the littlest amount of powder under my eyes because I do have dry under eyes, and so in the future this would probably be a nice under eye setting powder brush for me and not so much for the highlighter. Next up is the L22, which is her large fan brush. It's a super soft and perfect for all over highlighting and contouring with powders. I actually used this for highlight, and I really, really like the way that this highlighted. I haven't used a fan brush like this in a long time to highlight. I like that it is smaller than the more traditional fan brush. Sometimes, you know, the bigger fan brushes can be like overly sized, and sometimes it's just too much. But this fits so beautifully, and it was so easy to sort of follow that nice like C shape that I like to highlight in, and it blended the product out beautifully. And then I also picked up a powder bronzer and sort of chiseled my cheek out a little bit here, and it was perfect for that. This is one of those things where I really enjoyed this brush more than I thought I was going to, because fan brushes for me are just, I don't think they're necessary, and I'm not a huge fan of them, but this one pleasantly surprised me, and I will definitely continue to use this for both my bronzer and for my highlighter, because like I said, it applied it beautifully. Now on to the eye brushes. Let's start with the spoolie or the eyebrow brush first. This is the brow brush and spoolie, and it's perfect for creating natural brows and grooming hairs into place. I didn't use the angle brush for anything, you know, for my brows, but I did use the spoolie, and I used my AOA Studio Hold My Brow, like brow wax product. And I really like the shape of the spoolie. I might end up bending it in the future just so it's easier for me to get into that little pot, because sometimes those little pots are, you know, it's hard to get like a flat brush in there. I feel like you need an angled brush to, you know, really scrape up the product, but it did a really nice job at combing through the brows. I like the size and shape of the spoolie, and I also like that it comes to a nice fine point. Some spoolies are kind of just like the same shape all throughout, and they're a little bit thinner, but I like that this one starts off a little bit on the chunky side and then gets nice and thin, and so it was perfect to get right into those little hairs up front and definitely groom everything into place. Now for the other brushes, I started out with the L26. After I primed my eyes, I went into the actual Nudie Patootie palette, and I went into the shade Bum using this L26 large tapered blending brush, and it's the perfect amount of fullness to achieve a soft blended look. At first I was skeptical because I prefer a shorter tapered brush. I felt like this was too long and it wasn't something that I might like for blending out my eyeshadow. I definitely like shorter, you know, a little bit more full brushes, but I was really surprised at how beautiful this applied my transition shade. And then I went in with a little bit of a darker shade with that same brush. It was, gosh, what shade was it? Patootie. Yeah, I went into Bum, and then I put a little bit of Patootie onto this brush, and again, it blended everything out beautiful and seamless. Now it could be that the eyeshadow formula is also really nice, so I'll test this out with like maybe one of my favorite e.l.f., you know, bite-size quads and see if it still like performs the same way with a different eyeshadow formula, but it blends everything out beautifully. And then my favorite eyeshadow brush, actually 1 out of 2 of my favorite eyeshadow brushes, is the next one, which was the L26. The L26 is a small tapered eye blender, and it's perfect for detail work and seamless blending. Girl, let me tell you, if you have small hooded eyes such as myself, this was perfection to sort of build in the outer, you know, part of your eyelid right here, bring into the crease. It blended everything out beautifully, and it didn't feel like it was too flimsy, and it was just packed enough with the bristles to help you blend any of your eyeshadows. I also took the same brush and blended some eyeshadow into the lower lash line. I did pinch the brush just the tiniest bit with my fingers to get a little bit more precise application, and this was so good. Like, this was such a good brush. It's just perfect, like I said, for anyone like me who has hooded eyes or little to no eyelids, and it just blended products beautifully. Like, I was really impressed with this brush. Next up, I used the L30. It is a flat eye brush, and it's an even brush tip to give you defined brows, or great for smudge work. Now, I don't like these brushes. Like, I'm gonna be straight up, I've struggled using these flat brushes for quite some time. I have 1 or 2 others in my collection, and they are different sizes than this one. They're a little bit smaller or a little bit thinner, and I've just always struggled with these brushes. I get a lot of fallout, and I did get a little bit of fallout using this brush. I only used this brush to sort of pack color in the lower lash line, and although it did a beautiful job at smudging and packing color, I just cannot get into this brush. Now, Laura Lee did use this brush to carve out her brows in her demo or in her video when she announced these brushes. I may consider doing that, or you know what, this would be really nice to apply like maybe highlighter right under the, so you can get a really nice, precise, like highlighted brow look. I guess I could use it for that, but you know, this just, these kinds of flat top like brushes for your eyes like are just not my cup of tea. Like it's just not something that I ever gravitate towards, and they're just not my favorite. And then my second favorite brush, and I think this is the last one in the collection, yeah, is the L27 brush, which is a large shader brush, and it's the oval shape allows for packing on shades for maximum pigmentation. This surprised me the most. I think out of everything that is in this collection, this brush was incredible for packing on eyeshadow. I always use my fingers to pack on any sort of shimmering shades on my lids because usually brushes like this will cause fallout or crumbling on me, or it just doesn't lay beautifully on my eyelids like I want it to. If I spray the brush, sometimes I get a really nice, you know, seamless application, but I will get some crumbling, and this brush is perfect, like for applying any sort of shimmering shade on the lid. It applied the shade Skimpy on my eyelid like butter, you guys. Like I didn't wet the brush initially because I was like, all right, let's see how great this brush is for packing on a nice like metallic eyeshadow. And it just glided on like butter on the eyelid. And I was so impressed that I didn't get any fallout. I was like, I need like maybe 3 of these in my collection because I have not ever had a brush that's, you know, an eyeshadow brush like this apply the eyeshadow beautifully on the eyelid. And then I took it to the next level and I did wet my brush a little bit and went back into that same shade, and it just, again, it was such a beautiful application. Like I definitely want a couple more of these because although I don't mind using my finger, I am definitely one of those people that just doesn't want to get their fingers dirty when doing their makeup. Like, and sometimes it's inevitable, but if there's a tool that I can use besides having to use my finger, I'm always gonna reach for the tool. Like, I don't know if that makes sense or if you're somebody like that, but if you do, you understand what I'm talking about. I definitely love using brushes over my fingers. This brush is just perfection. Like I gotta give it to her. Like this brush alone is one of the best for packing eyeshadows I've ever used to this day. So that says a lot. So overall, I am very, very pleasantly surprised with the brush collection as well as the palette. I've never tried anything from Laura Lee before, but it definitely makes me consider her products in the future because everything was very well made. The bag, the brushes, and the palette are all to a really, really good quality and high standard. Everything came packaged beautifully. Everything was just, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. Not that I was thinking anything negative about it, and I didn't think that she would, you know, curate products that weren't to her own standard, because I know that she likes good things, and I've always liked everything that she's put out as far as her content. So I was really excited to try some of her products, and I will definitely be excited to try her products in the future. So yeah, if you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and spread my love for makeup, and I will see you guys in my next video. Okay, bye-bye.